Okay, welcome back, brilliant champs. Today I want to test just your knowledge of electrolysis with some tricky electrolysis question. So I want you to get your paper. At the end, I expect you to score at least 5 correct answers. If you get whatever you score, I want you to leave a comment as a comment. Now let's start. Question 1. If the same current passes through silver nitrate and copper sulfate, which mass will be deposited more? Silver or copper? Copper or silver? Which will be deposited more? Write your answer down so that you know how many will score by the end of the class. Which answer will be deposited? Which mass will be deposited more? Copper or silver? Alright. The mass that will be deposited more is what? Silver. What's the reason? It is simply because of Faraday's second law of electrolysis. What does it tell us? Is that when you pass the same amount of electricity through different electrolytes, the mass of substance deposited will be directly proportional to what? The equivalent mass of that substance. What is equivalent mass? It is the relative atomic mass of that substance. And the relative atomic mass of sulfur is 63.3 or thereabout, and silver is 108. Therefore, 108 grams is higher than what? 63. Therefore, this will be deposited more than what? Copper. Silver is the correct answer. If you pick silver, then you have the correct answer. And you must know the reason. It shouldn't be just a guesswork. Make sure you know the reason. And that is the reason, because of equivalent weight. Now let's proceed to the next question. Faraday's second law relates mass deposited to the current used. True or false? Faraday's second law relates mass deposited to the current used. True or false? Faraday's second law. You must know what it says for you to pass this question. Now remember, the first law says the mass of substance. First, have you picked your answer? Alright. The mass of substance deposited during electrolysis is directly proportional to the quantity of electricity passing through it. So this is definitely the first law of what? Faraday. So the answer is what? False. The second law I just stated in the first place, say when it compares the mass deposited when a quantity of electricity is passed through what? Two different electrolytes. You get it? Let's go to the next question. Which ion is discharged at the cathode during the electrolysis of brine? You must have picked your answer already. You must have known your answer. Which ion is discharged at the cathode during the electrolysis of brine? Okay. Now, first of all, you must know what brine is. Brine is what? Sodium chloride dissolved in water. So it's aqueous. So which ion is discharged where? At the cathode. So at the cathode, which is the what? Positive electrode. Which ion, the negative electrode rather, which ion will be discharged? In solution, you have sodium ion and hydrogen ion. And hydrogen, being less reactive or lower in the electrochemical series compared to sodium, will be discharged in preference to what? Sodium. So hydrogen ion is what will be discharged, and hydrogen gas will be liberated at the cathode. Did you get that right? All right, let's move to the next question. In the electrolysis of molten lead bromide, what is observed at the anode? Now, when this word molten comes, you know it is in the absence of water. Therefore, these are the only ions you see in solution: lead and bromine. Now, they say in the electrolysis of molten lead bromide, what is observed at the? So we are asking for the product at the anode. So we must know the anodic half reaction. And this will tell you that at the anode, bromine ion will be discharged and bromine gas will be liberated. So what will be observed? What you observe is actually the characteristics of what bromine gas. And you're going to be seeing what? Brown fumes at the anode, because chlorine what? Is discharged and chlorine gas is involved. Alright, let's move to the next question. Okay, before we continue, if you are yet to follow this page, why not give us a follow? And if you find this question interesting and if you're learning something, give us a like. And if you have a question you want to ask, leave it in the comment section. Meanwhile, I have video lessons already on the page. I'll leave a link in the comment section to follow, so you'll watch and understand the concept of electrolysis very well. Alright, let's continue. Question number 5. What happens to the electrode what happens to the electrolyte during electrolysis? What happens? You know what electrolyte is? A substance that can conduct electricity. When electricity is passed through it, that is an electrolyte. What happens to it during electrolysis? Now, the composition of the electrolyte will change. Why? Because when electricity passes through it, it will ionize the electrolyte. And when it ionizes the electrolyte, the ions will move to the corresponding electrodes, and then they are discharged at the electrode, thereby affecting the concentration and the composition of the electrolyte per time. Is that okay? All right, let's look at the next question. During electrolysis, which electrodes attract anions? Now, have you picked your answer? All right. Now, you must know that the cathode is negatively charged and the anode is what? Positively charged. All right, let's continue. So, we said during electrolysis, which electrodes attract anions? Now, we say you must know that what? The cathode is negatively charged while the anode is positively charged. So, like pairs do what? Repair. Unlike pairs attract. Therefore, anions which are negatively charged will be attracted to the positive anode. Therefore, anode attracts anions. That is why they are called anions, anode ions. Are we together now? All right. Number 7. In the electrolysis of dilute H2SO4, what gases are released and at what electrode? Now you must know your half equations. The reduction and the cathode and the anode half equation. Now, at the cathode, we know that the positive ion, when this ionizes, we move to what? We move to the cathode. Hydrogen ion will move to the cathode and it will be what? Discharged as hydrogen gas. Excuse me. Hydrogen ion will accept 2 electrons and be discharged as hydrogen gas. So at the cathode, hydrogen gas will be discharged. Did you get that correct? Now, at the anode, you see we have SO4 in solution here. But since it is dilute, that means it is aqueous. There is another substance in solution, and that is what? H2O. It is dissolved in water. And this one will ionize and is there as hydrogen ion and what? Hydroxide ion. So, in preference to SO4, the hydroxide ion will move to what? To the anode. So, at the anode, you are going to have OH minus will be what? Oxidized to what? O2 plus H2O. Now, we need to balance this equation. I have taught you balancing of equation in my last video. You can check for it. Now, let's balance this equation. Easy way. OH minus becomes O2 plus H2O plus 4E plus E rather. All right, let's balance it. Remember I said you do an atom count. So we'll have just oxygen, hydrogen, and electron. These are the components of this equation. Let's see how we balance this. Now we'll have 1 oxygen here, but we'll have 2 oxygen here. Are you following me? Here we have 1 hydrogen here. Here we have 2 hydrogen. Okay, on this side, 2 oxygen plus 1 is 3. 3 oxygen. Now we need to balance the equation so that the whole equation will be balanced. Now, for me to balance this side now, if I have 4 oxygen here, I'll now have 4O on this side. Now, here I'm still having 3 oxygen. So to balance this oxygen so it will be 4, I'll add 2 here. Now let's count. 4 oxygen, 2 plus 2 oxygen. So the oxygen now is balanced. Now I have 4 hydrogen on this side. So now here is 4. And here on this side, I have 4 hydrogen, 2 times 2. Here is balanced. Now here I have 4 ions, electrons. So it will be releasing 4 excess electrons. So to balance it, here I'll have 4. So here it's going to be what? 4 electrons. And the equation is balanced. Now back to our question. It means that at the cathode, hydrogen gas will be released, and at the anode, oxygen gas will also be released. So the question, in the electrolysis of dilute H2SO4, what gases are released and at what electrode. So simply, if you got hydrogen at the cathode, hydrogen gas at the cathode, and oxygen at the anode, you are correct. Now, final question for now. Why is electrolysis of sodium chloride different from that of aqueous sodium chloride? Electrolysis of molten. Why is electrolysis of molten sodium chloride different from aqueous sodium chloride? Simple. The simple reason is that the electrolysis of molten sodium chloride involves the ions, sodium ion and chlorine ion only, because it is molten, there is no water. But in aqueous, you are going to have in solution sodium chloride ion, sodium ion, chlorine ion, hydrogen ion, and then chloride ion. No, from water you have hydrogen ion and OH ion. Now, in the molten sodium chloride, sodium will be discharged at the cathode, while chlorine will be discharged at the anode. Why? Because there are no ion competing. Because the only cation we have is sodium, while the only anion we have is chlorine ion. Now, for the aqueous sodium chloride, you're going to see that sodium is in competition with what? Hydrogen ion, and hydrogen will be discharged. Hydrogen will be discharged in preference to sodium because it is less reactive and lower in the electrochemical series. And also here we have chlorine ion and what? Hydroxide ion. Now, in this case, chlorine will still be discharged because chlorine is preferentially discharged ahead of what? Oxygen. So, if you're able to score 5 out of the 9, please write it in the comment section. If you have any questions that you don't understand so far, you can still ask me in the comment section and I'll come with a reply. Please, do not forget to like if you find this interesting, share, comment, and most importantly, follow us. Now, up next, I'll bring what? Questions on electrolysis. No, Faraday's law. Thank you.